The fluorescent lights hummed above. Jake shivered, pulling his hoodie tighter. It was 2 o'clock in the morning. Outside the world was silent. The only sound was the gentle whir of the air conditioner. He leaned back, boredom settling in. He idly scrolled through his phone. The bell above the door chimed. He looked up, expecting someone, but no one was there. He checked the aisles. They were empty. He went back to his phone, the silence pressing in. The shrill ring of the phone startled him. He fumbled for it, almost dropping it. "Hello, thank you for calling Speedy Stop, Jake speaking." Silence. He pressed the receiver closer, straining to hear. The silence stretched on. He could hear his own heartbeat. He was about to hang up when he heard it. A faint click, like someone had just picked up the line. He held his breath, every sense on high alert. A low, guttural whisper, barely audible, slithered through the receiver. "Don't turn around!" The voice was cold, menacing, sending chills down Jake's spine. He gripped the phone tighter, his knuckles turning white. His heart pounded against his ribs. He wanted to scream, to run, to do anything but stay on the line. But something held him captive. A morbid curiosity, perhaps, or the primal fear that kept his feet glued to the floor. He licked his lips, his mouth suddenly dry. "Who is this?" he croaked, his voice barely a whisper. The only response was a distorted chuckle on the other end, making the hairs on the back of his neck stand on end. He slammed the phone down, his hand trembling. It had to be a prank, he told himself. Kids messing around, trying to scare the night shift guy. He took a deep breath, trying to calm his racing heart. He peered out into the darkness, the streetlights casting long, eerie shadows. Seeing nothing, he finally released the breath he didn't realize he'd been holding. He turned back to the counter, trying to shake off the lingering unease. He picked up a magazine, flipping through the pages without really seeing them. He couldn't shake the feeling that he was being watched, his every move scrutinized by unseen eyes. The phone rang again, making him jump. He stared at it, his blood turning to ice. He hesitated, his hand hovering over the receiver. He knew he shouldn't answer it, that it was probably another prank call. But something compelled him to pick it up. "Hello?" he said, his voice shaky. A cold, emotionless voice answered. "You should have listened." The line went dead. Jake stood there, frozen, the phone slipping from his grasp and clattering onto the counter. Section 6. Darkness falls. The fluorescent lights above him flickered, plunging the store into darkness. He gasped, his heart pounding in his chest. He fumbled for the light switch, his hand hitting the wall. He flicked it on and off, but the lights remained dead. He was enveloped in an oppressive darkness, the silence amplifying his fear. He could hear his own breathing, shallow and rapid. He stumbled back, bumping into a shelf. Cans clattered to the floor, the sound deafening in the silence. He cursed under his breath, his fear morphing into panic. He had to get out of there, find somewhere safe. He felt his way along the counter, his hands searching for the phone. He had to call for help. Section 7. Approaching terror. A floorboard creaked in the darkness. He froze, his blood running cold. He listened intently, every nerve on high alert. Slow, deliberate footsteps approached. Each step tightened the knot of fear. He fumbled for his keys, fingers shaking. The metal was cold against his skin. His fingers closed around his flashlight. He flicked it on, the weak beam cutting through the darkness. Section 8. Face to face. "I'm right here," whispered the same chilling voice he had heard on the phone. The voice seemed to be coming from right behind him, close enough to feel his breath on his neck. He whirled around, his flashlight beam dancing across the aisles. He caught a glimpse of a shadowy figure, tall and gaunt, lurking near the back of the store. The figure was shrouded in darkness, its features indistinguishable, but he could feel its eyes on him, cold and menacing. He stumbled back, his heart threatening to beat out of his chest. He wanted to scream, to run, but his legs felt like lead. He was trapped, alone in the darkness with something. Section 9. The end? The phone rang again, piercing the silence. The figure turned, flickering in the light. Jake watched in terror as it advanced, movements jerky. As it reached the phone, everything went black. The ringing stopped, replaced by eerie silence. Alone in darkness, his heart pounded. Art.